I was halfway through my first sip of coffee when the screen behind me betrayed me. The boardroom lights dimmed. 12 executives, 2 consultants, and 1 impatient CEO watched as the presentation I had spent 6 months building appeared on the 90-inch screen, and every single number was wrong, not slightly off. Not a typo, utterly embarrassingly wrong. The red revenue bars screamed 18% growth instead of 6. The projections were inflated, the footnotes gone, and the sleek blue palette I'd chosen had been replaced by something that looked like a toddler's dream of neon. "Evelyn," the CFO said, brow creased. "These can't be accurate." "They don't even match Q2. I looked at my laptop. The Wi-Fi was hijacked by the conference feed. No control. No undo. Across the table, Eric Darnell, the new innovation director, smiled like a magician mid-trick. 33, Stanford grad, sneakers in a boardroom full of loafers. "I made a few late-night updates," he said easily. "Fresh numbers. More energy." Harold, our CEO, nodded. "Good initiative, Eric." I felt my pulse in my throat. "These aren't validated," I said, keeping my voice level. "Those projections were still in review." Eric shrugged. "We're a visionary company, Evelyn. Sometimes you lead with story, not spreadsheets." Polite laughter. That kind that slices deeper than mockery. I swallowed hard, smiling thinly. I'd been at Holstrom Dynamics for 14 years, long enough to know how humiliation travels faster than truth. When the meeting finally ended, Harold clapped Eric on the back. "This is the kind of bold thinking we need." And then, the final blow. "Evelyn, align your projections with Eric's creative direction by Friday. Align. Corporate code for fix his mess and make it real." I nodded, calm as ice, while something in me quietly broke. As the room emptied, I stood alone. The projector still hummed, showing the last slide, his name glowing in the corner where mine should have been. I unplugged the cable, slipped the silver USB from my keychain into my hand, and watched its green light pulse. That little blink felt like a heartbeat. And a promise. Because Eric had no idea how version history worked, and I was about to teach him. By 4 p.m. that day, the office air felt heavy with gossip. On Slack, a new channel popped up. Iron strategy refresh, Eric's messages filled the feed. "Great synergy today, team. Let's keep the momentum. We'll iterate on Evelyn's base. He'd reduced my 6 months of work to a starting template. I took off my glasses, rubbed my eyes, and read the messages again until the words blurred. I'd joined Holstrom right after grad school. When the company nearly collapsed in 2010, I spent 42 hours straight rebuilding models that saved us $3.7 million. Back then, Harold called me our quiet miracle. Now I was a footnote in someone else's presentation. Eric, with his podcast smile and buzzwords, vision, storytelling, disruption, had been hired 4 months ago to modernize strategy. He talked in metaphors and hashtags, and people ate it up. He'd made a career out of shining under lights built by other people. The next morning, I found him at the espresso machine. "Hey, Evelyn," he said cheerfully. "Great teamwork yesterday?" "Teamwork," I echoed, reaching for a pod. He grinned. The board loved the new look. Less number crunching, more story. "Stories don't pay bills," I said. He didn't even flinch. "You'd be surprised. Narrative drives valuation," I smiled. "So does accuracy." He chuckled, poured his coffee, and walked away. He thought I was harmless. That was his first mistake. By Wednesday, I was disappearing. Meeting invites vanished. Shared folders downgraded my access from editor to viewer. It said the request came from above. The audit log said E. Darnell. Then came the first blow by email. Micro message number 1 from Eric Darnell. Harold, CC, strategy team. Evelyn's got a great technical base, but she can be a bit conservative. I'll help modernize her deck. He accidentally forwarded it to me. Too conservative. Code for too old. I printed it, folded it into my notebook. I'd learned years ago, never fight in real time. Collect proof. Friday evening, Harold stopped by. Evelyn, give Eric full access to your projections. He's integrating them. Integrating. Another euphemism, I smiled. Of course. After he left, I stayed until midnight. Embedding a hidden tag in the model, cell H72, created by E. Grant, April 2nd, 2023, a ghost signature only I would find. The janitor passed, pushing his cart. Still here? Almost done, I said. He nodded. People notice who stays late. I smiled. They will. Monday morning, the Slack channel exploded with emojis. Eric uploaded a deck titled Vision 2025. My format, my data, my color palette, his name. Comments flooded in. Love the energy. Finally, some vision and strategy. Eric replied, thanks everyone. Evelyn helped a bit with the numbers. She's been a rock. A bit. I stared at the screen until my jaw ached. I'd seen women vanish like this before. Brilliant, careful women turned into supporting credits in their own work. I used to think I was immune. Turns out, immunity expires at 42. By Thursday, he was filming promo clips for LinkedIn with my charts in the background. I DM'd him, Eric, please remove that video. It includes confidential material. Relax, he replied. It's just engagement. I took a screenshot. Friday night, Linda Tran from Internal Audit dropped by my cubicle. Hey, she said. You okay? I forced a smile. Fine, she lowered her voice. People are saying Eric's leading Synergy Plus, true? Rumors are just unvalidated data, she smirked. You always talk like Excel. Occupational hazard. She leaned closer. He's been requesting extra access in IT, be careful. I'm always careful. I tapped the silver USB on my keychain. Her eyes flicked down. Backup? Always, she smiled. Good. Don't lose it. That weekend, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by printouts and coffee cups, audit logs, timestamps, version histories, and there it was. Sunday, 11:48 p.m. File replace action by E. Darnell. He'd overwritten my deck 3 hours before the meeting. The email trail showed the same timestamp as his, rest up, I'll make us shine tomorrow. Text, he hadn't stolen by accident. He'd engineered it. Linda was right. This wasn't carelessness. It was sabotage. Then came micro message number 2. Slack, 8:04 p.m. Eric to assistant. She'll stumble on her old slides. Perfect optics. Screenshot. Saved. The proof wasn't just digital. It was personal. I printed everything, labeled it integrity packet, and locked it in my desk. Monday morning, Harold announced Eric as a nominee for the Visionary Impact Award at next week's town hall. A spotlight for the thief. I stayed silent. Revenge is quieter than outrage. That night, I opened a new document, version control governance, draft. It was dull, procedural, and lethal. Every rule inside it exposed what he'd done. Disguised as corporate reform, by dawn, it was a 22-page policy weapon. I sent it to Harold. Subject, Proposal, Data Integrity Framework. To reduce misinformation risk and reputational exposure. 10 minutes later. From Harold. Excellent idea, Evelyn. We'll review it next week. Perfect. A full audience. Meanwhile, Eric's LinkedIn posts multiplied. Honored to lead Holstrom's Vision 2025 strategy. Innovation is truth in motion. 2,000 likes. I didn't comment. I took screenshots. Thursday, Harold asked me to support Eric in prepping for the external client pitch. Help him polish the data, he said. Support. I nodded. Happy to. I watched Eric rehearse, spinning inflated numbers, glancing at me for backup every time a figure wobbled. I gave him just enough rope to hang himself. That evening, rain poured as I met Linda at the small bar 2 blocks from the office. She slid into the booth, coat dripping. You've been quiet, she said. That's not good. Quiet's preparation, I said. She smirked. You planning something? I'm writing process improvements. Your version of murder. Legal murder. We clinked glasses. I'm presenting it at the board meeting next week, I told her. She whistled. Nice. Once it passes, his overwrite becomes a compliance breach retroactively. Exactly, she grinned. Remind me never to cross you. The next few days moved in eerie calm. HR was printing banners for the town hall, celebrating visionary leadership. Eric's face was everywhere. Posters, screensavers, hashtag, Vision 2025. He thought he'd already won. Sunday night, I copied every one of his new decks into a secure folder. He'd used the same fake numbers, the same manipulative spin. I added a note at the end of my policy draft. Any unapproved modification constitutes breach of fiduciary duty. Monday morning, Harold stopped by. Great timing, Evelyn. Present your new framework before the award ceremony tomorrow. I smiled. Wouldn't miss it, Linda messaged me. He has no idea, does he? I replied, not even close. That night, my daughter Sophie peeked into my home office. You're nervous, she said. Focused, I corrected. Same thing. Maybe. She leaned against the door. You're gonna get him, huh? I smiled. I'm going to get the truth, she frowned. That's not as fun. It lasts longer. Before dawn, I packed my briefcase. Silver USB. Audit logs. Policy copies. I scheduled an email to the board secretary. Please add data integrity framework as agenda item number 2. By 7 a.m., I was in the lobby. Eric's face gleamed from the giant screen. Finalist, Visionary Impact Award. Linda met me at the elevator, handing me a gold USB. Backup for your backup, she said. I pocketed it beside the silver one. Just in case? Always. We rode up in silence. At 9 a.m., I stepped into the boardroom. The same one where he'd humiliated me. Same table. Same lights, same projector hum, but this time I was controlling the feed. Morning, Evelyn, Eric said. All teeth. Ready to support? Always, I said. He didn't hear the edge. He never did. The board gathered. Harold nodded to me. Evelyn, walk us through your proposal before we move to the award. Perfect. I plugged in the silver USB. Its green light blinked once. Good morning, I said evenly. This proposal is about accountability, digital and otherwise, and the war truly began. The projector blinked awake and the room blinked with it, eyelids rising in unison as if a single organism smelled blood. Over the last quarter, I began, voice steady. We've scaled collaboration across strategy, sales, and marketing. Collaboration is good, but without version control, collaboration becomes erosion. Data slips. Ownership blurs. Truth gets edited. Harold's pen tapped the tabletop. Evelyn, concise, please. Media's here at 10. Of course. I clicked the remote. On screen, a clean timeline. Color bars mapped to user IDs and timestamps. Every change tracked. Every overwrite visible. A river delta of edits. On the far right, a violent flare of orange. CFO Martin squinted. That's a lot of activity under one account. I zoomed. E. Darnell, Sunday, 11:48 p.m., full content overwrite. The boardroom air dropped a few degrees. Eric smiled too quickly. We've all made late-night edits. I was just tightening the story. Edits are collaboration, I said. Overwrites are amputation. Click, an email header filled the screen. Subject, exclusive, Holstrom Vision 2025, preview. Sent Sun 11:52 p.m. from Eric Darnell. Footer, BizReport Media. Martin inhaled like the number had punched him. Externalizing pre-approval materials is embargo violation. Eric's laugh was a thud. Context. It was a courtesy heads up. Prep for press. Without disclosure forms? I advanced again. Side-by-side metadata panes. Left pane. Author. Evelyn Grant. Created Sun, 5:57 p.m. Right pane. Author. Eric Darnell. Modified Sun, 11:48 p.m. Author tag replaced. No commentary. Just evidence. Harold's jaw set. Eric, step outside. Harold! He looked around for the laugh that had always been waiting for him. It didn't show. Only the door did. The latch clicked behind him. I felt the room exhale. "You had this and you waited?" Harold asked. "Until there was a quorum," I said. "Truth without witnesses is just a diary." He stared at the slide a long second and nodded toward the printouts in front of each seat that had appeared without anyone noticing. The Data Integrity Framework, 22 pages, dull, deadly. Recommendations? Adopt the framework, I said. Lock authorship. Log every change. Red flag unauthorized overwrites. Independent verification on anything over $25 million exposure. And destroy the mythology that story is an acceptable stand-in for math. Martin raised a hand. Seconded. Hands lifted around the table, palms turning into the policy that would become our firewall. Motion carried. Quietly. Completely. Harold's voice flattened with the kind of calm that follows detonations. "I'll address the award." "Postpone it," I said. "You can't crown vision built on vandalism." A quick, clean flicker at the corner of his mouth. Duly noted. 10 minutes later, the communications team wheeled lights into the next room for the town hall. I slid the silver USB from the port. Its green LED blinked like a satisfied pilot light. We filed onto the stage. The company's applause filled the atrium, an echo that always feels like absolution. Harold stepped to the podium, adjusted the mic, and cut the applause in half with a single sentence. Change of program. A hush. A tilt of several hundred heads. "Before we celebrate vision," he said, "we're going to celebrate something rarer. Verification." He nodded to me. "Our new data integrity framework, built by Evelyn Grant, goes live today." There's a sound a crowd makes when a PR script snaps. It's not quite a gasp. It's recognition bending into respect. That sound rolled across the floor. Eric stood off stage, the award cue card still in a handler's hand, eyes glazed as if his prompter had just died. A reporter near the front raised a hand. "Ms. Grant, what prompted this?" I stepped forward. The mic was cool. The truth was cold. "Because in business," I said, "truth isn't optional, it's infrastructure." A beat. A click. Cameras drank it. The questions kept coming. The answers stayed short. We postponed the Visionary Impact Award pending internal review. The applause that followed wasn't loud. It was clean. Afterward, in the seam between the stage and the hallway, Eric found me. "You humiliated me," he said, smile gone. "You planned this." "Planning is my job," I said. "Humiliation was yours. You think this wins?" His voice was low and hot. "People like me don't vanish." "You're right," I said. "They get archived." The elevator arrived like a punchline. I stepped in. "You left your badge in the boardroom," I added as the doors closed. "Security will mail it." The doors met with a whisper. He was gone in the way only people built on optics can be. Suddenly, completely, and forever looking for good light. By evening, HR issued the briefest obituary corporate allows. Effective immediately, Eric Darnell is no longer employed at Holstrom. No adjectives. Just the scalpel of policy. My inbox pinged with another sound. The beginning of a new system. From Harold Jensen, subject. Organizational update. Data integrity. Oversight team. Effective today, strategic integrity is a formal unit. Evelyn Grant will lead with full authority to verify data accuracy, authorship, and version control across all deliverables. Extend full cooperation. Holstrom's strength is built on truth. Harold, that was micro-message Thupper 3, the only kind I ever wanted. Not private flattery, but public architecture. They found me a new office in the quiet corridor where trouble goes to die. The nameplate appeared without ceremony. Director, Strategic Integrity. I stared at it, not triumphant, just aligned. The first weeks weren't glamorous. We were a janitorial crew for numbers. 6 analysts, 1 in-house attorney, 1 ex-auditor whose laptop weighed as much as guilt. We pulled every deck that had touched the Synergy Plus orbit and shook it until timestamps fell out. 7 projects glowed small and wrong. Not evil, lazy. Optimism mislabeled as fact. We corrected the labels. Won't this slow us down? Sales asked. So does repair, I said. We trained teams to treat truth like hazardous material. Log it, lock it, label it. Every deck got dual metadata, author and verifier. Every overwrite bled red. Deletion didn't delete. It created a new line in a ledger no one could erase. Hope learned to wear a seatbelt. 2 months later, Biz Report Media, the very outlet Eric had courted, ran a piece they thought would sting. It didn't. It rang. Holstrom turns scandal into system. Inside the rise of strategic integrity. They asked for a photo. I sent a line instead. Accountability isn't revenge. It's maintenance. They printed it. The words did more than a face. Peace in corporate is always a hallway away from chaos. The audit arrived on a Tuesday with shoes so quiet I didn't hear them until they were in the conference room. Cawthorn and Leeds. External. Not the friendly kind. At 7:32 a.m., Harold's email hit. Auditors requested immediate access to Synergy Plus models. Conference room A by 8. I slid the silver USB into my blazer out of reflex. The gold one Linda had given me, a superstition, followed. Mr. Alan Barris, senior partner, sat at the head like a metronome turned human. Ms. Grant, he said. We have an anonymous allegation. Q4 forecasts inflated by 18%. We'll confirm or deny, he plugged in a drive. Synergy, Final 3, XLSX opened on the screen. The skeleton was mine. The fat wasn't. We'll trace its origin, I said. Click. Our version tracker blossomed. Author, Jason Nguyen. Base file, Vision 2025 Darnell template. Origin, pre-policy. Jason was new, smart, scared of disappointing the speed of the calendar. He'd pulled a shiny template without looking at the tag that said "Do not touch." My system lit it red. The room noted the glow like heat. What does red signify? Barris asked. That you can't lie by accident anymore? I said. It means no for official reporting. He verified with his own tools. Nodded. Skepticism softened into the respect auditors reserve for systems that build themselves into their nightmares. Then Elise, Jr., lethal with silence, spoke. This last file was forwarded anonymously this morning, encrypted. Label reads, Execsat Q4 for summary, confidential. Harold frowned. Not ours. We opened it on read-only. The Eric model again. Inflated, confident, pretty. A comment bubbled like a curse. Approved for release, H. Jensen. Harold's face emptied. The air tilted. I ran the signature through our validation. The screen printed the verdict in a clean font. Signature forged. Unauthorized entry. Can you trace it? Barris asked. Yes, I said, hands already moving. The network map threaded lines. A constellation no one wants to see. Forged by Jason Nguyen. Account access overridden. Remote session. Source IP. VPN registered to E. Darnell Consulting LLC. Eric's ghost had found a door. My framework had built the lock. And because I had designed our locks to come with a quiet weapon, I pressed Enter.Access revoked. Holstrom Integrity Firewall. The forged approval evaporated. The room, auditors and executives alike, clapped without meaning to. Even Harold laughed once, the sound of a man who'd expected a fire and watched a sprinkler system write poetry instead. By 3:00 p.m., Biz Report posted the headline we hadn't asked for and didn't mind. Holstrom Integrity System detects forged CEO approval. Passes surprise audit. The photo under it was me at the monitor. Silver USB blinking green. I never posed for it. Truth did. That evening, the board chair's email arrived like a gavel wrapped in velvet. From Board Audit Committee, Subject Resolution, Strategic Integrity. The board unanimously approves elevating strategic integrity as a permanent division. Evelyn Grant is promoted to VP Strategic Integrity, reporting directly to the Board Audit Committee. Every company needs a truth keeper. You're ours, I read it twice. The title didn't feel like a crown. It felt like a lock clicking. The security desk buzzed. Delivery for you, not a box. An envelope. Inside, a note, you win. ED and a gold USB, the twin of Linda's. Engraved cheaply and smugly, version final. For the first time in months, I laughed alone in my office and meant it. I placed the gold drive next to the silver one on my desk. The green LED blinked once. The gold stared back, inert and a little ridiculous. In the weeks that followed, the building relearned boredom. The best kind. No midnight emergency calls to resell lies. No quick edits that decapitated authorship. The data integrity sign outside my door gathered fingerprints of people knocking not with excuses, but with drafts ready to be verified. Firewall, some called us. Boss-proof, my team called me. I corrected them once. They ignored me politely. Legends are the only currency that inflates safely. Harold wandered by one afternoon. They're nominating you for a Global Ethics Award, he said, leaning on the doorframe like a man practicing humility. I decline, I said. He blinked. Any particular reason? The best revenge, I said, is building a system that makes revenge unnecessary. He considered that, nodded once and left me to my paperwork, which is to say my piece. At home, Sophie baked cinnamon into the corners of our apartment and rolled her eyes when I used words like maintenance to describe everything from life to lasagna. She filmed me once, captioned it Truth Keeper, and I didn't have the heart to ask her to take it down. Let one myth breathe. One night, I opened the small wooden box on my desk, Artifacts, and took out the silver USB. Its LED breathed green when I plugged it in. The directory tree was a memoir. Truth backup, logs, overwrites, leak, policy, audit, peace. I added a text file with one sentence. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of structure. I printed it and taped it inside my drawer behind the pens. A private plaque. Months passed. The company garden out back held an oak that refused to die despite the city's best efforts. On a Friday before a clear weekend, I walked down with a small waterproof pouch. The silver USB went inside, zipped, sealed. I dug a neat slit of earth beneath the oak's roots and tucked the truth in like a promise. People ask if that was dramatic. It wasn't. It was housekeeping. On Monday, someone taped a printed quote outside my office. In God we trust. All others bring data. Deming black ink on white paper. Underneath in a Sharpie hand I recognized as Linda's. And Evelyn, I left it up. Not because of the name. Because of the rule. Occasionally, I'd catch a flash of a young analyst lingering at my door, eyes on the nameplate, spine straightening. They'd heard the lore. The woman who got humiliated in a room full of executives and answered with a framework. The one who turned a USB into a lever big enough to move a company. They'd ask the question with their faces. I'd answer without speeches. Keep your versions, I'd say. Keep your proof. Sometimes they'd grin. Sometimes they'd look like they might cry from the relief of understanding that competence has a defense when you build one. Every story wants a villain to punish. That's not what I wanted, not really. Eric was noise. The system was the music. And if there's one secret I'd staple to every door in corporate America, it's this. You don't beat a thief by shouting. You beat a thief by making the vault smarter than him. So if someone ever hijacks your slides, your hours, your credit, if they try to narrate you out of your own work, remember what the projector taught me the morning it betrayed me. Crowds love a story. Give them one with receipts. Truth doesn't scream. It timestamps. Truth doesn't trend. It stays. Truth doesn't seek revenge. It builds rules that make lying expensive. If you've been there, if you've clenched your jaw while someone called your months of work a base, if you've watched your name fall off a footer you wrote, take a breath, document, back up. Wait for an audience. Then plug in your little silver miracle and let the room watch itself. Hit subscribe to Office Revenge Files if you know exactly what I'm talking about, and keep your USBs close.